Enggak. Begitu. 1, 2, 3 ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let us introduce ourselves. We are from Group 2. My name is Chairil Tri Suryana, and then
My name is Aenun Khayatun.
My name is Distia Hanandari.
My name is Dinniannisa Azzahra.
My name is Nurjaman.
today's topic we are going to explain about definition of fiction in literature. In literature, fiction encompasses written works that are defined by narratives or stories that are created, invented, and made up by the writer. Essentially, fictional works feature elements such as plot, characters, setting, and theme. These elements can be literal, conventional, and follow formulas, such as in works of genre fiction. It's in fiction, it's all about imagination of writing. They can also be artistic, symbolic, and unstructured, such as in works of literary fiction. Fictional works primarily take the form of novellas, and short stories. There are many types of fiction within the genre of fiction itself, but all types of fiction include basic elements. And what are they? They are plot. Our stories contain a plot line which has a clearly defined beginning, middle, and end of story. Characters, there are many characters portrayed in fiction stories, but the narrative generally focus on a protagonist and an antagonist. The protagonist is the hero of the story, who the reader hopes to see succeed, and the antagonist is the villain. And then for the next material will be explained by Nina Nurjaman.
Thank you, Surya. Dialogue is direct back and forth conversation between characters happen throughout the story to help progress the plot. Conflict is there may be many instances of conflict throughout the story, but there is usually one major conflict that needs to be solved by the story end. Setting is every type of fiction has a setting that explains where and when the story takes place. And next, different type of fiction. Here is a list of types of fiction based on unique characteristics. Next, 1. Science fiction. Science fiction stories often take place in the future and involve visual aspects of science and technology. Characteristics of science fiction include 1. Space or time travel. 2. Futuristic setting or alternative history. 3. Advanced technology. And 4. Exploration of societal issues within our current societal model or dystopian society. And then next, Hanandari.
Thank you, Nina Nurjaman, and I will explain number 2 is mystery. Mystery is a genre of fiction that focuses on solving crimes and mysterious events. Ordinarily, the protagonist is a detective and the remaining characters are suspects until proved otherwise. Common characteristics of the mystery genre include a mysterious crime or death that needs to be solved, suspects that have movies that the detective must evaluate, clues led by the author that show the reader possible outcomes about who the murderer might be, red herrings, or clues that lead the reader to false conclusion about the murder. Okay, next slide. Historical fiction. Historical fiction is a story that takes readers to particular times and places in the past, typically at least 50 years or more in order for it so be considered historical fiction. Although the story takes place in the past, the plot itself is one that didn't actually happen in history. Common characteristics in historical fiction include a combination of historical and fictional experience, and a setting that exists in historical time and place in the past, and three mostly fictionalist character, but occasionally there is a character that is based on the historical figure from the time period. And number 4 is thriller. The thriller genre generally has a fast-paced story time and tension and suspense from beginning to end. There are many subgenres within the thriller genre, such as the psychological, political, and spy variety, to name a few. Some characteristics on the thriller genre include suspense, incorporate throughout the novel, plot twist to keep the readers guessing that they read, and challengers at the end of each chapter that leaves the post line as a climatic moment in the story, and ending climax to answer the question readers brought up throughout the story. And next, Dinniannisa Azzahra.
Okay, thank you. Number 5 is young adult. Writers create and market young adult fiction to readers between the age of 12 and 18. The plot line can be realistic or can contain magical elements, but in most young adult fiction, the protagonists face challenge and change. They are relatable to an adolescent. Common elements in the young adult fiction genre include: first, a teenage protagonist, a love triangle in which the protagonist must choose between two potential love interests, conflict in the story that are age appropriate for the audience, such as trying to feel like they belong, succeeding in a sport, or having a romantic relationship. 6. Realistic fiction. Realistic fiction is a type of fiction in which a story is told that could easily happen in today's society. It contains believable characters and events and takes place in actual setting, but the storyline itself is one that has never actually happened. Characteristic or realistic fiction include conflicts that the reader could face in everyday life, a setting that takes place in the present day and is an actual location or a fictional place that could be real, characters that seem like actual people you might encounter, conflicts that are solved realistically. And the next can be explained with, 7, romance. The romance genre can take place during any time period, and may contain a realistic plotline or have magical elements. But the primary elements of a romance novel is that there is a central love story throughout the novel. Other characteristics include a hero or main protagonist with whom the other's main character falls in love. Many conflicts throughout the story, making it difficult for the characters to be together, and emotionally satisfying conclusion. The next with Aenun.
Okay, thank you, Nisa. Egg horror. The horror genre purpose is to create feeling of terror and excitement in the reader. Common characteristics include 1. Exploration into the dark aspect of humanity. 2. Main character who readers can identify with and who often have haunted past and emotional traumas. And 3. Supernatural elements such as ghosts or demonic force. And 4. A goal to provoke terror in their readers. And next, fantasy. Fantasy is a type of fiction that focuses on magical and supernatural elements that do not exist in the actual world. There can be elements of romance, action, and mystery in fantasy, and typically include the following characteristics. 1. Magical elements or characters of magic, like sorcerers, witches, or werewolves. 2. Conflict involving good versus evil. 3. Imaginary worlds, often similar to medieval settings. 4. Mythical characters or being like elves, dragon, or talking animals. And next, fiction genre is often broken up subgenres. 1. Fantasy. For example, the Harry Potter and Twilight series are popular examples. 2. Historical fiction. For example, Book of the Da Vinci Code or The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. 3. Contemporary fiction. For example, The Hat You Give and Sisterhood of the Traveling Pen are popular contemporary fiction novels. 4. Mystery. For example, The Nest Drive and Sherlock Holmes novels. And 5. Science fiction. For example, Star Wars. Thank you.
Yeah. There are explanation or quote or idea of definition of fiction for literature subject. We are said sorry about wrong or false about, to grammatically uh, or
Pronunciation.
they work out, yeah. And if you are if there are questions, please share to us and let us know about what you thought. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.